Finally, we have. I don't think I've ever had. Aidan O'Mahony, the footballer, is the only other O'Mahony's.
Another O'Mahony. Okay, well, he's another brother of ours, isn't he?
We're
triplets.
I mean, we all three of us look exactly the same.
Identical,
yeah. Actually, you and I kind of look similar.
Yeah, we could get away with it.
We could get away with it.
Let me Google him. What does he look like? Let's have a look at him.
Wait till you see this. He'll probably have no shirt on.
Oh, good. Aidan O'Mahony. Was he on Dancing with the Stars?
Yes.
Oh, I think I know him all right. Aidan. And he spells it right as well, does he?
I think so, yeah.
Irish footballer. Oh no, we couldn't get away with that. Sugar.
For the audio listeners, Laura's face sounded exactly how she went, oh no, Tom.
No.
We are too Caucasian and Irish looking. That man has Spanish roots somewhere there.
He definitely has a bit of Spanish roots, and he'd be a gym enthusiast. Now, I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm not a gym enthusiast.
I wouldn't be fond of it.
I joined a gym this week, right? But when I say that I joined a gym, I joined a pool. And when I say I joined a pool, I really am just there for the jacuzzi.
Yeah. Like the notion that our little fella now would starting to take him swimming or about to start taking him swimming. So I was like, I better kind of think about swimming again because I haven't had to swim in anything for 20 years because I'm an adult. Why would I want to swim? I can drive. I don't need to swim anywhere.
You can drive there, guys.
So that's the extent of my fitness.
Yeah.
And I think from picking stuff up during lockdown, I kind of, one of my friends, it was Colin Geddes at the 200 show. She's like, "You're back in the gym." I was like, no, I hate the size of the gym. What? And I think he just saw for a moment, Laura, he just saw an indent of a muscle somewhere on me. I went, "You must be back in the gym." I was like, "No, I just picked up some stuff during lockdown because I was really bored."
A big bag of flour. I know I was in the swimming pool the last day and I kind of did a length or two to kind of give the impression that I wasn't just waiting for the jacuzzi. And I kept kind of like going down by the jacuzzi. And because of COVID, you see, you can't just all pile into the jacuzzi. Now you have to wait. So there was these two kind of handsome fellas inside the jacuzzi. And there's this like crazy mother lurking, kind of going, "I wonder is there any chance I could squeeze in?" So I actually, in the end, I just walked away and changed my clothes and went home with no jacuzzi.
I do. I like the notion of you just wandering in, the two boys like are admiring themselves and each other, and you just come over and go, "How the boys?"
Howdy, lads. You don't mind me. I've had 2 C-sections. I'll never be right again. Cuddle in there, bios. I'll tell you some home truths.
Yes, I love it. Well, welcome to Buckshot. I mean, I'm so unprofessional that I just said happened. This is Laura O'Mahony, everybody.
Hello. I'm delighted to be here because I have to say now, Tom, I'd be looking through the old Twitter and I'd see you to have guests on and stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know, does that fella know I exist? This is what I'd be thinking. And I'm like, I want to be on that.
Do you know, isn't it funny that we're so insular as comedians, like that we go, "Oh, the whole world hates me." I think it's like,
totally.
Truth be told, we don't matter to most people. Like,
I would say that there's literally nobody now today thinking, "I wonder how Laura O'Mahony is."
I wonder if the two O'Mahanys ever met up. They're both comedians, like, do you know?
That's very unusual to be both comedians and have the same surname.
Yeah. I'd say they're related. I'd say like Tiernan, the two Tiernans. I'd say they're cousins. I'd say.
Yeah. Are the two Tiernans related? I often wonder that.
No, they are. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Eleanor is Tommy's first cousin. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the blood there. Well, I've been saying that Sinead Quinlan is my niece. I've been saying this kind of across the board on Instagram because, like, she's from Cork. She's going to be younger than me, but she's not my niece. I've been calling her my comedy niece, and people have gone on going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're Sinead's auntie. That's so cool." And I'm like, I'm obviously not. Like,
let's start a rumor. So let's say we're brother and sister or something. Yeah, brother and sister. Yeah,
we've been estranged until now.
Oh my, for the crack, we should totally do it. Like, because to a degree, people would believe it. They go, well, maybe, like, you know, I mean, they're not from a million, like, I'm only 60 miles away from you, like, in Tipperary. So, you know, so, geez, yeah, we could have been.
They have a look of each other. They have a look of each other. Tom has the blonde.
Yeah. And that's all people would need to know. Now, it would be too much of a stretch for Aidan O'Mahony to go, no.
He can't be in on this. He has no claim to us. We have no claim to him.
But it is a thing that, and I was talking with Martin and Golo. I did a gig, an outdoors gig in an open-sided tent where we basically abused. Well, no, I suppose abuse is the wrong word, but we just barraged people with comedy who I don't know if they really wanted it or not.
Oh,
they were students, and they were sitting outdoors hoping to eat their lunch in peace, and then we started shouting at them, "Hello," you know, and They seem to be nice and they seem to enjoy it, but the truth be told, there was no contract exchanged hands here.
Yeah.
It was like, but and it was funny. I was talking with Martin at the side. I was going, what? He was, how was lockdown for you? I went, ask me it a different way, Martin. Come on, you're more. And he did. He asked me in a more in-depth way. He goes, "Did you learn anything about yourself in comedy?" I said, "I learned that nobody gives a fuck about comedians. Only comedians."
That's so true, isn't it? That actually, even this morning, I referenced, who did I reference? Somebody like that'd be well on my radar, some comedian or whatever. And they were like, this person was just totally like, oh, I don't know who they are. And I was like, but they did that gig in like the Triskel, and then they did another gig, and your man was like, no. And I was like, how do these people, like, I think about comedians all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not always positively now, but I do think, I'm like, oh, what's he doing? What's she up to?
And that's the honest thing, is that that in our own little world, and because it is, people do deem it, I suppose, a kind of a tricky job to stand up and we think then we get a grand notion of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a different thing if all we were was all cutting lawns. You go, era? Sure, I mean, anybody can kind of cut a lawn, like, but we think we're some sort of special.
I wonder, do other brain surgeons think about other brain surgeons? Be like, oh, Jared's after getting very good now. He's had a good few successes there.
How do you get that gig now? I mean, that's a politician's brain there, like,
That brain is a cut above. I don't like to get my hands on that brain.
Here I am just scrabbling around, cutting open old bin men brains. And this fella landing politicians and singers. What's that about? I'm as good as him, like.
Yeah, I heard he's going to do Dancing on the Stars next. Like, how does he get that? Dancing with the Stars. Dancing on the Stars is a different show. Quite aggressive.
Yeah, that's the one where he actually creates CTE, and he has to perform surgery on their brains afterwards, immediately afterwards. That's a game for the future, I think.
Yeah,
Laura.
I like it.
And are you back from radio this morning already?
Yes, I'm back. My day's work is done, Tom. My day finishes at 9 a.m. Which is ideal for me. So it starts at about 6, though. So that's a problem. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's 3 hours of solid work before most people are on. Solid-ish work. Yeah, I'm back and all already. So it's I've been doing radio now for a year. And what a learning curve. Unbelievable. Oh my God, because I learned this the hard way. You can't say like your nighttime stand-up gig stuff on early morning breakfast radio. There's children in the car and you just have to be so careful. Even like, you have to be unbelievably careful. I couldn't even do some of my mildest material. I don't think I could do on the radio, because there's mammies driving and they want to protect their baby's ears, and rightly so. I'd be the same. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe that one said that in the radio. Now I have to explain something to my child. And
that's more of it, is to explain, because I used to do a Monday's 15-20 minute slot on 2FM with Bernard and Jennifer and Keith. And it was to be Angry Tom, essentially. That was the character they wanted. And they were like, well, can you give out about a scenario? We'll put it to you, or whatever. And Bernard kind of went down a road, and I was just glaring at him, don't go down this road. Don't. And we were down it. And just the phones, the Twitter everything lit up. It's like, oh no.
It's very, do you know what? I haven't had this in years, that feeling in the pit of your stomach where something comes out of your mouth and you're like, oh, I can't take that back now. Because I think it's different to live as well. Like if I said something live, once it wasn't recorded, I could always deny it. Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
I could be like, I didn't say, no, you misheard. That's not what I said at all. I'm lovely. But it's just, live radio every morning as well. Like when it's like 6 to 9, like, I don't know anyone that's functioning on all guns blazing at 6 to 9. So you're a little bit sleepy and you're like, right, you're on kind of thing. But it is like, it's great crack, but it has definitely been the most learning I've done in ages. And I thought I had finished learning, and I'm not very open to learning. I'm a kind of a closed book. All these people that were doing stuff in lockdown and learning new skills. I'm like, no, I've got my skill set now and I'm happy with it. So this was like, just a shock to have to experience like feedback or talk or hey Laura, the way you did that now didn't quite work. I'm like, what's happening here? Because I'm my own, like I work for myself. I don't ever critique myself. I could go off and have had a terrible show, and I'll like a terrible stand-up show, and I'll go off and go, well done, Laura, you were great. Yeah. There's no need to analyze that in any small detail. On to the next one. But this was like, I had to learn. It was a new skill I had to learn. And I've no interest in learning, Tom. I tell you, I know that's a terrible thing to say, but
No,
I'm like,
it's honest. That's what it is.
I'm finished. Like I was so good in school. I was such a good girl that I feel like I used all my learning abilities up very early, because by the time I got out of school, I was like, oh, I'm done now. That's me. Often like people be like, oh my God, I listened to this really interesting podcast, Laura, you should listen to it. It'll give you this like really interesting insight into something. And I'm like, oh, I don't want any insights into anything anymore. I'm fine. I'm fine as I am.
That's fantastic. I love that, because I'm in the same bracket. Like I'm going, no, my head's full now. That's fine.
Full. I do feel full. I feel like if you added in even a tiny other little bit, that I'll spill. And I
have to get rid of bits. I have to get rid of bits. I go, well, oh, Brita's wedding, that's gone. Sorry, I can tell you
don't
nothing
need
about
to give
today.
that any more mind space. Yeah, but then it makes me quite tricky to, like, I'd say, trying to give me feedback at the start of the radio process. That was quite tricky for anyone that was giving me feedback, because I'm rowdy. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, no, I blah, blah, blah. Like, and so it took a while to learn like that this feedback is not like, Laura, you're stupid. It's like, let's make the show better. You know, it's not a personal assault, because I'm straight away, I'm like, who's this now? Who's this mansplaining to me? Yeah. I'm well able to do my own thing. I'm a powerful, independent woman. Very hard to deal with that. when faced with that, that's a nightmare. So I've had to learn. Another thing I've had to learn is just to temper my own reaction, that it's not personal, that it's for the benefit of the show, and like for the benefit of me as well. Like, I mean, I'm much different now than I was a year ago. I've been doing it a year, and I feel like I'm finally able to say that I get it now. Whereas at the start, I was like, I can say whatever I want.
Would you prefer criticism in the sense of more of a impersonal way, like your mate would go, you like the way your mate would say it, or do you like the kind of obviously tiptoeing around the shit? Where would you prefer, Laura, that was pure shit this morning, what are you doing? Like, would you prefer that? Because I think I got the tiptoeing around and go, so I was thinking if we pushed it on this one, and I can't log that at all. Like,
yeah, that's interesting. In general, I'm unavailable for criticism. So I'm really not open to much.
This is going great, by the way, Laura, right now.
Thank you. Thanks. Like, I remember doing a play years ago, and I came off stage, and obviously the play was finished, went in, got dressed, came back out into the audience, and this fella comes up to me and goes, Laura, very good. I'll tell you now what I liked and what I didn't like. And I was like, oh no, I just stopped him straight away. I said, you can talk to me about this tomorrow. I'm just after coming off now. I need to be on this high. But if I am going to be available for critique, I always describe I need the sandwich. So I need the first lovely bit of, Laura, you're wonderful and amazing. That goes without saying, you're a brilliant, magical person. Bang, then in the middle, all the critique. That was shit. You need to get better. You spoke too soon. What the hell are you doing? That's a terrible topic. And then finish it off with, but you are wonderful and amazing, and I think everything you do is fantastic. So I just need a sandwich, and I'm very open to it then, once it's been couched in like, you're lovely and brilliant. And
isn't that funny that you know that? Because that's what you would do. That's what you would do if you had to do it.
And I've given that. So to anyone that is giving me feedback, I have given them that, look, this is how to give me feedback. But obviously everybody feeds back in different ways. And like, mostly people don't have time to be dealing with my precious ego and couching things in terms that will make me happy. So I've had so many adjustments. It's working with people, you see, Tom, because I haven't worked with like people in ages. And it's like, oh, people have different personalities and different ways of thinking. And I'm like, oh no. And so do I, kind of becoming aware of like, oh, I hate that and I love that. I'm overwhelmed by learning this year.
I've often said, like, when you have to work in environments, because it was a bit I used to do, and it never did well. And I was like, it did grand.
You still did it, Tom. You hung on to that bit.
I did, and I came back to it again, and it worked once or twice in a few places, because I went about it in a different way, and I probably matured as a comedian to be able to explain it better where I was going with it. But I was so, like, trying to get across to people what working in a working environment with other people can be really fucking unnatural, because you have to swallow all the shit that they're saying in the morning, especially like you're watching Love Island last night and you just go, I just want to choke you out. I just want to choke you out on the floor. But instead you go, it's great. Yeah.
Well, I'd have been that person going, Love Island was amazing, Tom, wasn't it?
But again, it's trying to get across that we're allowed to walk around with these swirls of fury in our head going, fuck everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think you see, like in the radio job, I love the radio job. So the stakes are high for me, we'll say. But I used to work in a bookshop in town in Cork City. It's now gone, but I used to work in there. And the stakes weren't as high there. So I feel like in many ways you could say whatever you wanted in the bookshop, because I'm like, it doesn't really matter, you know. So I was very, now obviously you can't say anything you want to the customers, but I was much more inclined to have like a big rant or be like, this is stupid, I hate work, I hate everything, I'm going out for a scone, like much freer, because I cared less. But I care a lot about the radio. I want to get it right. I want to be good at it. I want to be liked by the listeners and all of that. So then it's you're in your head then. Maybe it's getting older as well. I was never in my head in the book.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is, you know, grand,
Well,
here's your book, get out.
It's a discipline, I suppose. Can only help really in a lot of ways. It can only, because I found I'd never done any proper acting. And then I'd been thrown into a few TV shows where sure all I was playing was like silly characters, and sure that was grand, and it was like loosey goosey, just learn your lines, Tom. And I was like, okay, I can do that. But then I got cast in a one-man play that was, it was one that was, you know, world renowned. Like you had to be. I've never in all my life worked like this. It was like this is like I grew up as a farm child picking stones and shit, but this is like, what is this? My brain wants to die. But afterwards, I found coming away from that, just the discipline of getting my shit together for a gig and stuff like that. I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah, all this handy.
You know, it actually did help, like the discipline of it, of getting my shit together. Now, I mean, I'd never learned lines because I don't write down. I'd have a bullet point.
Same, yeah.
You know, like
a line learner,
if you can back your own banter and you know the roots of how to chat, comedy will come fine once you practice, do it enough on stage. But write that down and type it. I could never type a joke. Like it would be. But I just found that, and that's probably, I'd say, your brain, because if you were doing radio since you were 12 or whatever, you know, you're that kind of a kid, but you're doing it now and you're going, what? So I have to curtail myself. But I applaud you for being so bouncy, like first thing in the morning, because I was on Ireland AM yesterday.
Oh yeah, like, oh God, that's very early as well, Ireland AM. And you have to be presentable, like face and clothes wise. Yeah,
but like I was sitting there like an old lump because I was after driving. You know what I mean? I was just thrown on the sofa, like, oh well, like
it was just old lump.
To be honest with you, I was in the wrong. I should have been like, and had my teeth whitened and everything. And in fairness, Myrn is class. Like,
she's lovely.
She's
I
class.
love her. Yeah.
Do you know? But she's so ridiculously glamorous, like, and everything. You're like, this is. I literally just left the wilds of Tipper. Like, this is all.
There's a smell of the bed off of me.
There's a smell of the bed off me. You know, I can smell diesel off my hands from the petrol station, and you're all sitting here like Tommy Bow, sitting there like it's Tom. You know.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Yeah,
beautiful. But they're so positive. But we had a good time for the short time I was there. But I was watching. They seem to be quite enthusiastic. But I was going, are they just being enthusiastic because the camera's on us? Because they were just making a chicken salad with a lad over there. And I wanted to run my face into the wall just looking at the situation. Like,
it's just so early for a chicken salad.
Wait, like, put on a fry, you prick. Like, you know what I mean? Come on. Like, but it was the positivity and trying to generate actual content. And tell me now, what would you do with the chicken now? And you go, how are you doing this? Because all I want to do is slap it out of your man's hand and go, get down to the shop and get me a breakfast roll, will you? Do you know? Like, maybe I would be able to do it after. I don't know. I guess a paycheck changes everybody's attitude, but.
Yeah, and I suppose there is a feeling of like, there is a responsibility to wake up whoever's listening. So you have to be awake then, do you know? And I'm conscious of like people driving their kids to school, and that they could have like, you know, 3 or 4, like, you know, sullen teenagers or screechy toddlers or whatever. And I'd like to give them like a little moment of joy if it was available. But then as well, you're also conscious of not being so positive and bouncy that you're annoying. You know, you don't want to be like, woohoo, good morning, everybody, I'm in the best form of my life. Like, it's a really tricky balance. And because I know myself in the morning, like I'm not sure that I could listen to myself.
Well, that's the thing. You have to stay down the route, because you know they're Irish listeners. We can't deal with a dose very well, like, because like some parts of Britain can deal with it, like, and especially a lot of parts of America and Australia can deal with a proper old dose on the radio. Going, good morning, you know, you go, oh, turn him off. Like, I need to temper it down. Don't need full on misery, but can you just just above misery and somewhere heading towards happiness. Can we get that?
I think as well as the week goes on, like I think on Monday, we nearly always acknowledge like, oh God, it's Monday. And then by Wednesday, we're starting to see the lift of the weekend pending. So I think we are reflecting that. But you know, something you said there, it definitely has helped me in terms of editing my own material.
Right.
Because you don't have time.
Yeah.
Like traffic is coming up, weather is coming up, there's competition. If you're going to say something, it would want to be a nice, quick little nugget. And that has helped me as well, because my stand-up is very like, oh, we could be here all day. Laura's just rambling on. So it's helped me to kind of find the out and stuff. Ray always is like, you know, where's the out? Like, where's the ending point? And I'm like, sure, we'll find it. I'm an improviser. So I'm like, Arrow, we'll find it out somewhere. And he's like, no, but we don't have time to find it. Like, we must hit it. So I think I've gotten better at kind of spotting, oh, here's the end of this now, as opposed to then like adding on a whole other extra couple of paragraphs. So that's good for stand-up as well, to learn to be a bit. But I'm afraid now I'll be so speedy that I'll only actually have like about 4 minutes of material.
I know I did a show in Belfast a couple of weeks ago, and it was like the first show back after a year, because I did a few last summer or whatever. And I mean, I looked down at my watch and I went, what have I just been foot to the floor, went through about an hour's worth of material in 25 minutes. Like, what have I just, this is what?
I know.
Forgot about any pauses for enjoyment or anything. It was just, but I was very excited to be there too. It was like,
yeah, I'm a bit like that as well. I'm flying through my stuff, and I'm doing, I've rescheduled gigs. So I had a sold out gig in the Everyman, blah, blah, blah. It's been broken down into
Everybody's
4,
Princess.
Right? The People's Princess.
People's Princess, beg your pardon.
Lady Diana reference, thank you. But it's been broken down into 4. It's happening in the next few days. And I'm doing 90 minutes myself, right? And I'm like, I definitely have 90 minutes of material, right? But only if I deliver it. Like, I'm going to have to be careful, as you say, with the excitement, because I could get that done in 10 minutes and then be like, oh, so we've got 80 left now. Has anyone got any material they'd like to share with us? You know, I
have a book of raffle tickets. I'm
going to read a novel that I'm reading at the moment. I'm going to share it with you. Yeah, I'm afraid that I'll either go too fast or go too slow. And then part of me is just like, just go on the stage. Everyone will just be so delighted to be there at last. Yeah. Like, let's just go on the stage, Laura, and get out of your head and just have a bit of feck and crack, rather than being like, oh, will it be too long? Will it be too short? Oh God, blah, blah, blah. Just go on. You know, I think I'm like, there's a little voice in my head going to be there going, just get on and shut up. Or not shut up. If I shut up, they'll have no content.
But we overthink the situation, but
yes,
that show, I'd never done a play, and that show Caveman,
yes,
as you were just talking about the audience and how much love they're giving it at the minute. That night, I locked up about 45 minutes in, could not get to the next line.
Oh God!
And it was a sitting down point in the play, and it was actually a point where, have you ever thought about? And I went, have you ever thought about what's the next fucking line? And in fairness, that's all the comedian in me had to say it.
Of course.
And in fairness, the whole audience just started roaring and laughing, just give me a round of applause. I went, one moment. And I did have bullet points written behind the sofa, and I walked past and walked back. Have you ever thought about But I was very surprised, because I thought there were going to be theatre people. There'll be no way there'll be nice people. Of course there were nice people, because they were delighted to be out to a thing. And now you have these people who probably have a ticket. Jeez, a year,
they've had
a ticket
since they've had a ticket since, like, the gig was meant to be March 14th. So like, and what I'm interested about this crowd is they predate the pandemic. Like, they booked tickets before the pandemic. So these are original Laura likers. So this is going to be good crack. You know, they haven't joined me in the pandemic, we'll say. But do you know the one-man show experience, Tom? I did a one-woman show and I found it very lonely. Did you not find it so lonely doing the gig? That particular gig, the first couple were, because you're finding your way through it realistically, like, you know what I mean? So your brain is continuously active. Yeah. But I found once it was rolling, it's like, this is quite lonely, actually, because it's not even like you have a support act or anything. Like, there's literally the tech lads had all their gear, but they stuck together. Like, and I'd meet them at the show, but it was like, and I do remember being in, I don't know, was it Dundalk or something, and it was just, it was a bleak evening, and I just done a daytime gig for the Galway Comedy Festival, and it was amazing. Yeah. Bulleted across, and it was like, this should be amazing also, but they were a somber enough old crowd as well, the same, and it was just,
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
there's something about it's different. Like if you did a comedy gig, it's different because it feel like even if you were doing a solo comedy gig, it feels like you're kind of on a journey with the
Yeah.
audience. But when you're doing a play, it's almost like I am putting this in front of you, audience. You can kind of take it or leave it. And now I'm going to go back into my sad car and drive my lonely way home. That's how I found it. I remember having to drive up we were living in Ballycotton in Cork at the time. And I had to drive up to, I think it was Dungarvan, like 3 nights in a row. And on the third night, I was very much like, this is sad. I feel sad for myself. Like, it's a great, happy play, but I feel so sad on this lonely road, doing my lonely bit of parking, coming into the theater and being like, hi guys, how are you? How's everyone? Yeah, great. Another show. And in my head, I'm like, I'm so sad. I wish there was 10 other people here, or I wish it was like a full-on comedy gig or whatever. And I remember driving home that night just being like, I feel bleak.
That's funny. Yeah, yeah.
Which is not a feeling you usually get. You're usually buzzing, but I was like, oh.
I did. I probably didn't internalize that now, but now that you're saying it, it's like, because I tried to put that out of my head going, no, this is I'm very happy to have this work as well as, whatever else. But yeah, that's funny you say that, because there was long old drives where you're going, yeah, all right. So, because they're like, typically, now we closed the tour in the Wexford Opera House, and it was the icing on the cake. It was,
it's a great venue.
You know what I mean? There was a standing ovation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were so I was like, oh no, we're back in the game again. We're back in the game. But there was a couple of nights, all right, we were going, you're just driving away going, all by myself here.
Yeah. My job is weird.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
But as well, I used to often get this, and this is my like pet peeve of all pet peeves. So you've done the one woman or one man show, you've left your like soul on the stage, and you walk out and some old one goes, how do you remember all the lines? And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm like, sure, that's my job. Like, that's the most basic part of my job. There's no, or like what I get a lot from men at comedy gigs is, well done, you were actually very good. And I'm like, fuck off. Like, I'm well able. I don't need your lackluster praise. Thank you very much. How do you remember all the lines? Fuck off.
It is funny. Like you say that when blokes coming up to you at comedy gigs, and it's coming from a place of sheer ignorance, and not ignorance as in ignorant rude. I think fucking stupid. Like, you just don't know. Because I've done gigs, and I've helped out friends who weren't typically stand-up comedians, but they had comedy things, and I'd go on, I'd kind of warm them up or just to kind of get the place in order. And you're looking out at an audience of people that you and I, Laura, will never see at any of our shows.
They're not our crowd.
But you know what I mean? Like, people like in GA jerseys throwing shit at each other, and like, even they look all over the map. Like, the seats are set out in a row, and yet all of a sudden they've managed to turn it into a melee. Like, and I'll never forget that 2 or 3 people. I had to do some wrangling. I remember this one particular gig to get these people's brains in line for a performance that was coming on, and got him there. But fuck, did it take some? I mean, it took a pickaxe with these people. Like, and afterwards, I came off, and I'm like, Jesus Christ Almighty. Well, I feel good. Like, we got this to go. And 2 or 3 lads came up to me and, I tell you, you're right to take this up altogether, because they, and it was in various versions of that going, you're right to take this up altogether. Fair play to you now. You got up there now and you said that all them things. I'm doing this shit 12 years.
Yeah.
Are you fucking joking me? What I just did fucking took 12 years to be able to. One guy, I remember he was working with my sister, or so one of my sisters down in Cork, and he wrote her this email. And it was, but again, I was angry with these fellas at the time going, how did you not know I'm a comedian? But then when she showed me the email, I was like, oh, all right. They just don't know. These blokes just didn't know. He wrote this thing of positivity and giving me a big G up, like, but had he just Googled my name for 1 second, he'd go, oh,
this fella does a bit.
They don't Google. They don't. It's not outside.
That's interesting, because I often come home very affronted by something that somebody said. And my husband has had to point out to me that a lot of the time it's compliment. Like, I'm like, this fucker comes up to me after the gig and he goes, yeah, well done. And Shane was like, but maybe that person actually knows you quite well and is nervous around you. And I'm like, not at all. He was like, this stupid little woman, now I'll give her a bit of praise. And it was only afterwards it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, maybe some of them are actually like, I would never approach anyone. Like if Tommy Tiernan was there in front of me now, I'd pretend I didn't know him, even though I'd really secretly like to go over and lick his face. But I would never
It's a nice face.
I'd love to give it a good lick, but I would never like, I just couldn't, because I'd be like, leave him alone. He's about his business. He doesn't need to hear you. So there could be people like that about us as well, even though I think it's slightly less likely. But at the same time, I think a lot of it is actually from a good place.
I think so.
I get very insulted because I'm just like, I don't need anyone telling me that I did well in this situation. Like I come home to Shane, I'm like, I'm kind of surprised that somebody didn't give me an award at the end for being the greatest comic ever to live, you know, so my level of compliments is too high then. So like, yeah, really well done is not going to cut it for me.
Yeah. Know? And that's the most that people normally have in them to give you, because they don't.
And we're so needy, Tom. Like it's terrible to want to perform, but be so needy. Like I really need someone to be like constantly with me going, well done, Laura. Everything you did there, that was perfect. You know, I need that little.
Just opening the fridge.
Yeah.
Well done, Laura. That was
a great fridge
class.
Open there now.
Yeah.
But you're making all the right choices.
It's true. People say awkward shit and they come over and they do say things and you're kind of going, but I had to do the exact same thing. I was going, is that a smarmy comment? But then I was thinking in my head, who does smarmy comments? In almost in person, nobody has that confidence to come over and be that bold.
It's different online, but like in person, it's rare that somebody's actually going to say anything nasty. No.
So 9 times out of 10, I would imagine it's people trying their best, but they're just shite.
Yeah, or like I supported Des Bishop in The Everyman, and when I was being introduced, whoever was doing the announcing was obviously like some lovely Cork person, and they introduced it as up next, local girl Laura Mahony, which really had a bang of this should go help us is going to pop in now and do a few minutes, right? But again, in their mind, they were probably like, oh, it's great now that she's local. I must make sure to highlight that now, that so that people know she's from Cork. But the way it came across, I was like, this baby is now going to do a tiny bit of stand-up, and then the real comic Des Bishop will come out.
Isn't that funny? Like how just a little word can go, did you have to tweet it up so much?
Yeah, I know.
Why not just come out fucking with a Hurley as well and a fucking red and white shirt, for the love of Christ.
Going up the rebels.
You know, like.
Yeah, I know.
It is it was funny. It was down in Cork, one of my weirdest intros. Well, it wasn't a weird intro because there was no intro. It was in the Opera House, and it was opening for Nina Conti.
Oh, right.
And Nina went missing. Nina, she didn't really want to know me or anybody. She was just in that. I was like, look, she could have had a rough week, who knows. She did just get left 14 million from her outlet, but at the same time, that particular week it was like, okay, fair enough. But she wasn't around to just had the side mic to intro me. And I just done my first hour in Edinburgh, so I was like, okay, I can do. And they wanted me to do 45 minutes of it. I was like, this is odd.
That's a big opening.
Big open, but she was only doing an hour, and the Opera House wanted a 2 hour with an interval. So I says, okay, there's nobody around to intro me on the side mic. Okay, and there was a tech there. I went, would you? And he went, yeah, no problem. But when it came to it, he went, I fucking can't say it. I can't. I went, would you fucking joke me? So me being all I'll just introduce myself.
Yeah.
So I introduced myself. Nobody had any clue that I was coming on. That's not what. So people thought they were just coming to see Nina Conti. They didn't expect fucking this guy to show up. And I didn't even give it a second. I just went, I can do the stage here, support act, Tom O'Mahony. I walked. And that's a long stage to walk. It is silence.
A long old stage.
Because it was silence, because people were like,
oh no.
Oh, total silence, because I didn't give him even a beat, Laura. I just walked. The second I said it, I walked. And like a handful of claps, by the time I got to the mic, I was like, I fucked that up, didn't I? Thankfully, like Nina was nowhere to be seen. But the nicest was, and it's a cool way for people for opening support acts I saw. And anytime I would ever do it, I would love to be able to do it this way. But for a Bandaman, I did a tour with a Bandaman a couple of nights around Ireland, and they actually had a picture of me and my name. Supporting us tonight is.
Okay, a visual aid.
Physically. Just going supporting us is this lad.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised when he shows up and he doesn't rap. You know what I mean? He won't be rapping. So at least
he might try.
But it was the oddity of that. It's just a tiny little thing. Had I given it a beat, or had they not said local girl, Jeez.
Local
They were going to guess
well,
it.
as well.
Laura O'Mahony walks on stage. Like, people get surprised I don't have a Cork accent with O'Mahony. But you walk on stage and goes, how's it going? And
I had time for Cork. Very early on, I learned that, like, doing support, I've only opened for Des and for Deirdre O'Kane, but doing support, I think very early on, I learned the need to make a joke about it. So I used to always be like, there's 3 things in life that I hate. One was ukuleles. I can't remember what the second one was. And the last one was support acts. And I used to then say to them, like, but don't worry, I'll only be here now for about 20 minutes. Just so that, because I know myself, I don't like watching support acts. But I just am like, I'm here for Boys Own, guys. I don't know why OTT are still on. So I just am like, I feel the need to clear that up nice and early so that they know that Ronan and the boys will be along soon.
Yeah, you're 100%. And you have to point out the elephant in the room in those scenarios. Go,
totally, yeah. Just call it, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure it was something along those lines that night, like in Cork that night. It was like, don't worry, I have no ability with puppets. I won't be attempting any puppetry. We'll just hang out for a while and get your smiley faces going or whatever else. So, but the first I came across you was Cahoots.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, did you because 3 incredible actors straight away? It's like you never find that. Like, we're 3 really, and you all knew your dynamic and role. It was like you'd been cast together.
Well, I suppose we were cast together. Like, we knew each other. The 3 of us, Tyke, me, and Dom, knew each other separately. So, Dominic, who is in the Young Offenders and everything, he had auditioned for a play that myself and my friend Laura were directing. 2 Lauras were directing a play. Dom had come in, done an audition, was terrible, but he was so beautiful. We were like, we'll cast him anyway. This was in college now.
Just for his hair alone.
Oh, stunning and so clean. We were like, brilliant. We want to spend a couple of weeks rehearsing with this chap. This is in the early days of college. So then actually, he's obviously a brilliant actor. So we lucked out. So it was great crack with him. And Tig and me had been in I had directed quite a serious piece, and Tig had been in the quite serious piece, and we were both taking ourselves extremely seriously.
Right.
And we didn't realize that we were any crack. So we actually managed to do a whole kind of rehearsed reading of a play without realizing that there was any crack in either of us. And it was only a couple of years later I met him, and I was saying that I was going to start doing stand-up, and he was like, oh my God, I'd really like to do stand-up as well. And I was like, come on, we'll put pressure on each other and we'll both start together. And then Tig was looking, so Tig knew Dom then from Tig and Dom were working on another play. So we all knew each other, but all separately. Yeah. And then Tig was doing a Storyland for RT, and he kind of got us together. The 3 of us worked on The Fear. Do you remember that hidden camera show?
Ross Brown was on that, wasn't he?
Yeah, Ross was on it, and Jennifer Zamparelli and Hilary Rose. And so the 3 of us were like dressed up in blue jumpsuits, just running around Cork for the day. It was a really long day. We like clung to each other for the crack, and we ended up having a great day. And we kind of realized, there's a bit of crack here now or whatever. So then whatever Tig was doing, it was the Storyland thing. Then he got us together. And like, it was magic. It was magic for a couple of years. And like, we all, as you say, we all knew our roles or whatever. And like, we had some brilliant times. It never went quite as far as I think we thought it would. Yeah. It just seemed to not make that last kind of leap into like, wow, now we're suddenly foil arms and hog. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That didn't happen for us. But I think we're like, it definitely did a lot for each of us. Like, we're a lot further along now than we would have been if we hadn't had Cahoots, we'll say, put it that way. Do you know?
What I liked about it was the subtlety of it. Do you know what I mean? And as a comedian, I thought, well, this is fucking genius what I'm watching here now, because they're really, really good actors and really good comedy. And you were able to make situations that weren't even, you didn't have to write it particularly funny, but it was, they're really good comedic actors.
Yeah.
Probably the reason why, as you said, it didn't burst through is because you weren't doing hacky old shite.
No, we weren't.
I hate to say it, but
we were a bit niche, and like, we had a thing for a while that we didn't want to go viral, which is in theory very,
I love it though. That's
artistically
such a comedian thing
honorable,
to say,
isn't it? It's such a like, the true nature of the art or whatever. But like, I think maybe I would have liked to go viral at some stage. You know what I mean? I'm like, we'll do one really commercial one. Will we? Come on. But like, I think as well, the joy of it was that we found each other tremendously entertaining. Like, and it used to really be written. Like, Tyke used just kind of pull it together. But I don't know how many of the sketches were actually strictly written down like that, because, and it's the same then when me and Tyke started doing stand-up, like, because we both have a kind of drama background, it was almost like we were able to jump ahead a bit because we didn't have to learn kind of how to be on stage.
Yes.
So we knew how to be on stage. If anything, we had to unlearn things. We were like, okay, it's okay to talk to the audience. I'm allowed to talk to them in this. Maybe not during the Playboy of the Western World, but during this, I am. So we like, yeah, it was a lovely time. Unfortunately, it just kind of ran its course. And then we've all gone on different paths now. And like, who knows that it might not, I feel like it probably is finished, but there's always the option to do a sketch together, I think. Do you know what I mean?
I would absolutely, yeah, wouldn't see why not. Because it was my first running of you, and then I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, because again, you don't, being an idiot, I was going, well, clearly she's come out of nowhere. I'm like, no, she hasn't, you fucking idiot. But I remember Brian from City Limits.
Yes.
I was on one week or whatever, and he was saying, I tell you what, no, you've got another O'Mahony who might be taking your title. I said, what are you talking about? King, I said, it's not hard, there's not a lot of O'Mahony comedians. And he was like, oh, tell you no. And he claimed that we were related as well. And we were like, Brian, you live in Cork, like. But he was just going, you have to see her, like. You have to see her. She's absolutely brilliant.
He was great to me. He, like, as in, he gave me a good few gigs in City Limits. Like, I think, like that again, you see, there is like a thing, when you go up as a female comedian, there is a slight feeling of like, oh, she might be shite. And I think they're always delighted then when you're good. It's the same with men, really, but I think with women, there is a like, what'll this one be like?
Well, I think the ratio, and I would say you'd probably agree with me because you're involved in the work. I think the ratio of shite and good is the same, because 7 out of 10 are going to be fairly shite, men and women. That's just people. It's just there's way less women doing it. Do you know what I mean?
And I think maybe some of the lads are more ballsy. I notice sometimes that, like, you know, a night where there might be, you know, if I was trying out material and there might be 10 other comedians on, right? I know, like, there's lads go up and I'm like, what, their set was utter shit. Like, to have the balls to think that this was good enough to present to an audience.
I know.
I have a strange respect for that. I'm like, you're utterly crap. But you think that 7 minutes deserves a hearing. This blows my mind. Whereas I think maybe girls are a bit more like, I'll wait until I have like really, really good stuff. I'm not just going to go up and shite on about whatever, my fanny or something, because the lads
there's something to do.
It's usually the lads are usually talking about their willy for 7 minutes, and I'm like, I don't want to see your willy for 2 seconds, let alone talk about it for 7 minutes. But like, I don't know, I wonder, is there a kind of a bravery, because it's usually kind of a 20 to 30 bracket as well, whereas girls in their 20 to 30s, I'm not sure. Like, I started stand up when I was in my mid-20s, and I felt ready then, you know. I was like, I'm ready now. Whereas at 19, I don't know that I would have been. Do you know? I
suppose, sure. Yeah, I didn't start it until my mid-20s either, but it was just circumstantial, and it was in Cork I started. But I can't remember who said it to me. It was English. She was a woman comedian, and we were chatting about, was it Jo Coffey? She was very nice to me anyway. She was a much more senior comedian, and I was very, very new. But we were kind of discussing. She goes, oh, the reasoning behind it is quite simple. She goes, men find for a lot of it have to feel like they have to impress with humor because they don't really have anything else. Let's be honest. But she was right. Yeah. She goes, you can only gussy yourself up to a point where women start to think, what's going on with that guy? So she goes, your only way is to verbalize your gussying yourself up. Whereas she said, if you want to be a pretty girl, you can at least make an attempt to be. And whereas girls probably don't feel they have to.
Yeah,
because they have more to offer in so many other ways. I was like, well, that's a valid point. That's a really valued. Men go, I gotta be funny to be popular in this group, you know. Whereas a lot of times, I don't know if girls. I think what she was saying was, girls probably don't feel like they have to be hilarious. Maybe now they do, because I think society is starting to get more and more. I think there's men and women are starting to turn into the similar people.
Yeah, totally. And as well, I don't even really like the differentiation between like a girl comic or like, I'm just like, if it's funny, I will laugh at it.
We should be able to do each other's material.
Completely. And also, like, as in, like, I'm not going to temper my material in the hopes that some men might come to my gigs.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Like, as in, if I want to talk about periods, I'm going to talk about them because I've had to listen to all sorts of like men's troubles for years and find it hilarious. I'm like, there are ways that like what would be considered girly topics can be funny for men as well. Because like, I'm sorry now, lads, but you're involved with us, you know. But I don't like the divide. I'm like, just be funny. I don't care what you are. Just be funny. And if you're not, fuck off. Go on away home if you're not funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that aren't, unfortunately.
There's lots of them that aren't, and they just won't fuck off.
Not this pandemic and burn them out of the fucking
here
thing.
He is at another gig. Oh, there's that 7 minutes again. Great. And I love the ones that come off and go, oh, the audience just didn't get it. I'm like, nah, you're shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. And it is. But I think the ratio is about 7 out of 10 are going to be dirt. It's just,
of course, yeah. But I do admire their chutzpah for being like, Jesus, I'm going to go up and be shit. I've no interest in going up and being shit. I'm only going up if I know I'm going to be good.
Oh, that was like, and I think for me, like I've said it before, I said something similar before, and I think when I said it, I sounded like a real gung-ho fella. But what I want to say to people is, no, I'm internally quite lazy. And if I have to bust myself, like that's why I don't play golf. I attempted it a few times, went, oh, I'm shit at this. Oh, no. We'll give back these. But I remember I went out, it was in Mahon. There's a little golf club.
Oh, there is, yeah.
I got a 9, it's a fucking links course. And I had a really nice day out with the lads. It was like, oh, this is nice, isn't eating sandwiches and walking around. But I'm shit at this, like, so... They're like, yeah, but being shit is kind of, you have to. I said, oh, no. I'm handy enough at other things. This is like handwriting and stuff like that. I don't need this.
I have a beautiful hand.
I don't need
penmanship.
this.
Absolutely. Oh, but this back to the learning.
Yeah.
I'm like, at my current age, and I think it's like we're having small kids and everything as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't actually have time to put effort into becoming good at this.
Yeah.
So I'll just take the things that I know I'm good at. It was a bit like I trained to do drama and theatre studies. I trained for like serious acting. And very early on, I realized, oh, no. There are 12 billion women that are better at serious acting than me. But I'm like, in comedy, I might have a chance. So, you just, as opposed to me going off and trying to like become Sive, I decided that I'd leave Sive to somebody else and that I'd do comedy instead.
I think that's more, you see all these self-help people, and all these, there's so many memes now, and they're putting up things like, the sunset and it's all this shit and you're going, and all they're doing is filling people's heads up with shite.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. Like the KISS effect, KISS. Keep it simple.
All this people like trying to live your best life. I'm like, the pressure of having to live every day I have to live my best life. Are you joking me?
Stroke.
That's so unattainable. It's like, just live your life. I think the greatest kind of anti-meme I ever heard, I was doing a panto for RTE weirdly, and the choreographer guy was talking about, he kept talking about JOMO, and I was like, what's JOMO? He was like, the joy of missing out. And I was like, I have never related to anything harder in my life.
Wow.
There is great joy in not having to feel like you have to be involved in everything or you have to be the best at everything. You can just relax and be like, oh, I'm having a lovely time doing my own thing.
Yeah,
that's amazing, isn't it?
Jomo. That's a great one. Was that the one? Was Spain in that one? Was he painted blue? Am I imagining it?
Who? Carl
Spain.
No, he wasn't. No. This was on telly. It was like anyone that had done an RT. Niamh Kavanagh was in it, Eurovision superstar, and me and the Lords of Strut, and who else? Carl wasn't in that one. I think he has done other ones.
He did a telly one because Carl had been. We were doing the panto in the University Concert Hall.
Yeah,
and we were watching, and it mustn't have been this one because Spainer showed up towards the end dressed in blue as Jack Frost or something. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It must be something they do to the comedians because they painted me green. Nobody else was painted except me. I was green from head to toe.
It's like, clearly we need to paint the comedian. It's like the panto thing. There's a set.
Their real faces cannot be seen.
Oh no, you don't know about paint the comedian. Oh, that's been going on for hundreds of years. That's but you show up because you showed up in something that was on YouTube the other day. My child was watching it and it was fantastic. I knew it was you. Were you an owl or am I imagining?
Oh, I am. Me and Tiger both owls. I'm Mammy Owl in Critters TV on RT Junior, and Tiger's the dad.
I'm some smarmy bastard when that happens. I'm like, I know who the owl is.
I know that voice artist. Now, Critters is a great show for kids. Oh my God, it's gas. Like it's Gogglebox, but it's based on Gogglebox. It's like other animals watching real life documentary footage of animals.
Brilliant.
Oh, it's so much crack.
Brilliant.
And I'd be always trying to get my kids to watch it, but they're like, "Mommy, we're sick of watching you. Put on something else."
It was for the first time ever. We thought, well, I knew it wouldn't be because he has my just rudeness ingrained in him.
Right.
And we over to my parents' place. Because they had recorded me yesterday on television to see what he would make out of Tom being on telly. Like,
yeah.
Could he give? Like, he's 2. It was like, why would I look there when he's there? Like, what? Do you know, that was literally the face.
Oh, and your parents probably thought it was going to be like a lovely magical moment.
Oh, there was video cameras out in us. But
no.
For me, though, there was so much pride in his level of just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was actually delighted. I was going to live in your headspace would be an amazing thing where you don't feel obliged to have to go, oh, look at you there. Jeez, didn't you do well?
You're looking great.
He felt none of that. He was like, the fuck? I don't care.
We were in B&Q there one day and a girl said to me, oh my God, Laura, I love your stuff or whatever. And she said to my daughter, Polly, she was like, your mom's a little bit famous, isn't she? And Polly goes, oh, whatever. It's just like, okay. Polly's only 6. Like, I'm like, how is she so scathing so young?
Oh.
Burn
that's right to the heart, isn't it? She's like, oh gosh, whatever.
Oh, sure, that stupid one. She'd be doing stupid things the whole time.
But that's a beautiful headspace to be in, though, is where kids are at. It's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Don't care, just around the place. My son Alfie is doing this new thing now, and I'd love to be able to do this. Is if you don't pay him enough attention, he goes, I want to talk to you. There's loads of people I'd love to roar that at, isn't there? I'd want to talk to you.
I just imagine you actually screaming across like a forecourt or something, Tommy Tiernan. I want to talk
to you, Tommy.
You're one of the few people, and that I because we only just then started following each other on Instagram. And
that was a bit awkward, wasn't it, when we headed friends?
It was like this weird teenage disco. It's like, oh God, here we go. We haven't actually, we know, but it's I mean, we're brother and sister, so
we don't need to contact each other on Instagram. We're on the family WhatsApp.
But you had Kevin McLeod, and myself and my wife are fucking obsessed with Kevin because he's such a bollocks, but he's brilliant. He's a bollocks.
Grand designs, yeah.
Oh my God. And you did a bit where you're cutting back and forth chatting with Kev. Like, I was going, how long did you spend cutting away bits? Because it's brilliant. It's like, he's going, and you actually caught him. And we still talk about this bit right at the end of a show where he's about to drive away. And then he opens the door back over in the car and he's like, and he just starts, and you're like, don't be mansplaining me, Kevin. But we still talk about the over dramatic Kev.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's the stuff that he does with his mouth really troubles me. Yeah, because I have it's undiagnosed, but I definitely have it. Chris Kent does a bit about this in his stand-up, but I was like, Chris, I have this. It's misophonia, where like certain noises trigger you. We'll say people eating with their mouth open and stuff. Like, I can't have dinner in the same room as my husband, or if I do, we have to have the telly up really loud, and it triggers my fight or flight response. So Kevin McLeod sometimes does stuff with his mouth where he's like kind of trying to make himself seem more intellectual, and I feel like punching the wall when he does it. I'm just like, Kevin, your mouth is so annoying. But there's something, I really like him, but I also kind of don't. He's a very tricky character, isn't he?
And he even does it and he started to do it in the later seasons as people are talking to him and they're saying something like, well, I mean, we said we'd go with the gold-plated toilet because, you know, Kev, I mean, everybody deserves to treat themselves once in a while. Do you not agree? I mean, yes, it costs 450,000 to put in, and they cuts back to Kevin. His mouth is doing this weird thing, like he's having a fit, like.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Like, oh my God. And this is new in the last 2 seasons. Like, myself and my wife are looking, Natasha's going, did he always do that shit? I'm like, I don't think so.
It's gone cracked. I know. I said the minute we were getting renovations done in our house, and the minute I was like, oh my God, we're getting renovations done. This is the only time I'll ever be able to do a Kevin McLeod sketch. Let's go.
For anybody wondering, go have a look at. I put Laura's Instagram on this. It's like 3rd or 4th down. It's glorious. It's glorious. As the cutaways to the kettle. It's like, you're like, it's for tea. It's for tea. And we've been on the same show, but not on the same. We've both been in Bridget Neyman.
Oh my God! And we were never on the same time.
No.
I loved that. Who were you? I was the neighbor, Grania.
I was the neighbor, Paddy the pervert. I was the
Oh,
pervert.
I remember. I actually didn't know my name for, I'd say, about the first 2 seasons. But I did have a name. I was the only actor to never get a wig. Did you get a wig?
No, well, I kind of did. They let me dress myself. They went, well, we want you to be an 80s disgusting pervert. I went,
so you'll have that in your wardrobe, will you?
I was like, oh, you want me? You want me to dress up for this, right? I can. But they let me. They greased down my hair, but is that a rat's tail? I'd love a rat's tail from the 80s, like.
Yeah.
So they actually clipped on, and he put it in brilliantly. It really looked like it was growing out of my hair, and he let it hang down. They wouldn't let me hold it in my mouth. That was. Okay. And they gave me I didn't have a mustache, but they gave me a really slim little barcode mustache, and they greased down all my hair. But I'll let you away with all that's going on here, Tom, but you have to zip your fly up, because I had my belt pulled out through my fly. I was like, come on, let's sell this.
Yeah.
But as you've given the character the most on the nose, like this show is the most on the nose. You haven't tried to be subtle with fucking anything, and you've called him Paddy the pervert. And I was like, well, can we call it Paddy? A line where I have to say it. He went, well, everybody knows, because you'd be called Paddy de Pervert. Like, let's make it French.
Yeah.
They weren't having it. They were going, now you're getting too smart for yourself. This is an on the nose TV show. We would like it to stay on the nose. To be on the nose.
Like, I had one line in the second season, I think I had one line, something about cornettos. And then she kind of, Granny became she was just always kind of there in the background, but mainly because Sharon Mannion was pregnant. Sharon wasn't able to do a few days. So Concepta was out a few days. So Granny suddenly kind of got bumped up. I was like, I was pregnant as well, but I was just not as far along. I loved doing it. I actually really miss it. It was so much crack. It was like, because it was Norma Sheehan was on with me. It was usually me, Norma, Sharon and Ed Salmon, so it was like always great crack. It was such a laugh. I loved doing it. Norma is she's the wildest woman I've ever met. She's so funny. She was on she played Damon Ivor. She played Ivor's mother. Yeah. So I was in a lot of scenes with her in that, because I was just always wandering around as Tarquin, like. But we got on powerful, because there was a wild edge to her, like that. I've never seen anyone with more of a wild edge than Norma, because she seems like such a normal person, but she's crazy in the best way possible. I love her. I never got to see it, but I'd asked him for her audition tape, right? Because apparently it was something to behold. Like we all went hard at our auditions, because it was a show that they'd thrown a lot of money at it, and I'd already played the character, but I had to re-go for my role. But I was not getting my role. Like, I brought in props and everything out of my But by all accounts, she started popping pills, doing handstands, fucking like bananas. She's gas. She's brilliant. We used to always be mocking her, because people be talking about sending their CVs in for gigs and stuff, and she'd be like, oh, because I don't have any CV, because I don't know. And we were like, but you're Norma, you're in everything, you don't need any CV. No, you're Norma Sheehan, you're all right. She's amazing. I love her. She's so wild. And you were just back, was it Triskel Arts you were at? How do you mean gigging, is it? Yeah, was that the first one back? No, I've done a few. My first one back, the Everyman did an outdoor gig up in this fort. Yes. Do you ever know Elizabeth Fort in the middle of Cork City? Never knew it was a place. I did. The brother-in-law who's from, like, all my siblings now live in around Cork, and they all seem to know about it. I'm like, how the fuck did you all know about this? I used to drive past it regularly. I'd be like, what's that weird wall? But inside there was this big fort. So I did an outdoor gig there. I did the Triskel. And I did a one down in a festival in Kinsale in Ballinacurra House. I was in the horrors, because the lineup was Bell X1. No, sorry, wrong order. The lineup was Lisa Hannigan, Laura O'Mahony, Bell X1. I'm like, this is a music festival. Oh, Jesus. And they're like, I've never been more stressed, Tom, about a gig, because I was like, first of all, I'm sick of doing outside gigs. Second of all, there was other stages and stuff. I'm like, the crowd could actually just stand up and go off to another stage. Yeah. And I was in the horrors, because I had been doing a lot of kind of lineup gigs where, at least there was 2 or 3 of us on the bill. So like that introduced they said my time had started, and they were like, go on out there now. And I was like, oh, there's nobody okay, I'll introduce myself. I literally had to wander out onto this massive stage that's like set up for Bell X1. The audience were a good bit back. There was like a big gap of a kind of a half a field between us and then the audience. And I went, hi guys, please put your hands together for Laura O'Mahony, right? Which they obliged and did. And then I was like, it's me, right? Such a stressful start to a gig, but it was actually a great gig. It ended up being great. And then I did one in Trabulgan of all places the other day.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. I just wanted to go down there for the waves. But it was, again, like that great crack. They were all there for a festival, so it was great. But I definitely am just dying to get back inside. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of outside gigs. It's just not the same.
It's not even close. Like the ones I did up the north now were indoors and stuff. And we did a gig with Sinead Quinlan and Andrew Maxwell 2 weeks ago for the launch of the Galway Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
But even still, like you're going, we're almost there. It was a big, massive ballroom, but people were spread out. I said, we could do it quarter the size of the room with these people and just make it cozy. But we're all like, it's almost there. It's almost there.
And I find that audiences are also struggling with how to be an audience. Particularly in a few of the gigs now, they had to like buy pods of like 4 or 6. They weren't allowed to come as a 2 or whatever. And so like they were very spread out. There isn't that kind of sense of, the way like if you have one loud laugher in the audience and everyone kind of joins in. Usually it's my husband who's a very loud laugher. But he that isn't, because they're not close enough. You kind of can't get that atmosphere going. And we did gigs in Watergrass Hill where it was outside, but it felt like inside. There was a great atmosphere.
Is that O'Mahony's in Watergrass Hill?
Oh yeah, it's true. Our family own that.
We just do it. We need to do a 2-hander. Myself and yourself in O'Mahony's.
In O'Mahony's. It's a great venue.
Is it?
Like, oh my God, it was great. We had 2 storming nights there. They were just so on for it. But then at the same time, I'm just longing for a small, sweaty, disgusting room that we can do comedy in.
I know. I cry.
Sweat dripping off the walls and the smell of shite. That's all I'm asking for.
Jesus. Are you asking for much? No. Well, the north, I'm doing a gig. Is it next week, I think, up the north, and they've dropped everything.
Oh,
they've dropped everything now.
Okay.
So all the lads, and that is some place for comedy. Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't know how I translate in the north. I'm very
not about
corky.
No, sure, the further south you are, they go mad.
Right. Oh, so, right.
Yeah. Like, because I've been the most southern that goes up there on a regular basis. They're just looking, going, that's exactly the accent I was thinking of. And Kent used to go up there an awful lot as well. Like,
who used?
Chris Kent. So
yeah.
So they're going, the fur, because it's just so exotic to them. You know what I mean? They're like,
well, it's like if they came down here, I love when they're like, say anything to me, say the word shopping center, and I'm like, oh, I love it.
But they have some following up there when people are unashamedly fans of local lads and local girls. Like, they're unashamedly fans. Like, here's like, it's grand, but until they become a superstar, you go, oh, now I'm a fan. But there it seems to be absolutely cool to be a fan of somebody that you haven't heard of, and thousands of people are. Like, Geddes has 2 sold out SSE arenas.
Yeah.
And sure, he wouldn't be known at all down here, but yet up the north, 7,000 people.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable. I'm going up north now straight away. Yeah. Can you get a train?
Yeah, just go up and go, Cork. I'm pure Cork. Like, just ham it up. I
love Cork.
So what's next? Because this show, this will be going out next week.
Okay, so I'll have done the Everyman gigs. Then I have a massive gig in Dunmanway.
Hello,
Dunmanway.
Dunmanway's a good spot, in all fairness.
Fun Manway, they call it. I believe you can get your dinner at this gig. You know it's a good gig if you're going to get your dinner as well.
Dinner and a show. In
the, what's it called? It's either the Square Kitchen it's the Square Kitchen, I think it's called. So I'll be inside the Square Kitchen in Dunmanway now on the 8th of October, I think it is. And then we're kind of coming into panto season, but we don't know. We usually do an improvised panto after the main show in the Opera House. Yeah. I don't know that it's going to go ahead. We very much wanted to go ahead, but I'm not sure that it'll actually be possible. So we'll see then. It could just be like lonesome this Christmas at home crying into me presents that I didn't get to be on stage. But there's been like a busy kind of section there. And in a way, I'm kind of ready now for another break.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
We had a year and a half of a break, and now I'm like, I've done about 3 weeks of work there. Now we'll take another break, will we?
Yeah, all the rust wouldn't have come off you just yet. You just need to loosen up and get back in.
Just a little stretch. Yeah, I know. I'm sure it'll fill up October, November. But I have the radio show every day as well, and I feel like, my God, that is keeping that brain muscle going enough for the time being.
Class. Yeah, I felt it with. I noticed even going back on stage. Thank God I was podcasting, because I saw lads who were class and they were just locking up. You could see the brain locking up on them going.
Totally. Or I've seen people that have had to like kind of step out and say, I'm actually a bit nervous, which as an audience member, I'm like, I have no tolerance for. I'm like, I'm here to see you, buddy. I don't care about your nerves. But as a fellow comedian, I'm like, I get it. But I'm like, just keep the game face up. We don't need to know. I'm so nervous. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Give me my money back.
Suck that shit up. I didn't come out here to see nervous people. Come on. Laura, my sister O'Mahony.
My brother Tom.
I need to sort out. Actually, my name is just you have an O and an actual comma as well. I need or is it ampersand? I need that as well.
I've started leaving that out though on forms and stuff. Do you not find it's very annoying that they don't recognize your surname if you leave? I think it's an apostrophe. Is it or a comma?
Is that an apostrophe? I
don't know what it is.
Let's call it. Yeah, an apostrophe. At least you spell it correctly and you O'Mahony. And I may as well ask you before you go. How many times have you had to pull people up on? No, there's no E. There's no E in that.
As recently as the promotion for the Dunmanway gig.
Can we leave the E out there? Yeah.
Just that's a I'm not Mahony. No. I'm not American.
No, those people took the soup. That's
that's
not
the dad
us.
from Frasier, but it's not me.
Police Academy. Just go.
Yeah.
Police Academy.
Yeah.
Laura, this has been an absolute joy. Thanks a million.
Pleasure. See you on the WhatsApp.